Nice to see you in this room. Today is really very interesting information, especially for those who hear it for the first time. And I want to ask you a question today. We will communicate interactively. Who is worth health? Just raise your hands. Everyone. When a person is sick, how much will he think that he needs to be healthy? Does he want to recover quickly or not? What do you think? And who thinks about health ahead of time? What will happen to me 5 years ahead? Thinking. Not heard? Heard? Didn't hear. Thinking? No? Yes, thinking. Beautiful. Look here. There is real health today, and there is health which is far off, so to speak. When we do not know about it yet and what it will be, we also do not know about it. But every person wants to hope that it will be valuable, and the fact that it will be the same today as it will be around the corner in 5-8 years. We go to the doctor, and when it was pressed at all, when, as they say, the cock spat in one place. Therefore, today we are talking about how to help yourself, how to be healthy, how to maintain your health, and then not to complain that once I did not have time to do something. And the most important and valuable thing to say is to try not to be a burden to children. Do you agree? Whatever age you are, you need to take care of yourself. This means not being selfish and not hanging your problems on your children. This is very important. So he was talked about years ago, back in the 19th century. They began to talk about him because once they took it from the sea, looked, the fact that there is, works, and gave results, and this stretches until today. But in 1913, Professor Killin, a Germanin, extracted the fucoids. This is a substance we will talk about, and the scurls of algae from its wall. And they began to talk about him for 5 years. And today, it remains the product that was deeply shot in the seas, which remains an interesting product to help a person, so that a person is healthy. What is fucoidam? These are polysaccharides that are found in the cell wall of brown algae. You can take it past all algae. Past all the algae, it gives such an amazing result. Fucoidams have polysaccharides. This is how we strung Christmas trees on branches, strung toys on a Christmas tree. Then in the same way, polysaccharides are strung on the structure of fucoidam. There is a disclosed structure of fucoidam. There is a cellular one. He has an open one if you look into the molecular lattice. And these polysaccharides are strung like Christmas tree decorations, and they, together with fucoidam, give a result. Why do fucoids need a plant? Just as you and I need immunity, the plant also needs immunity. Fucoidam, as it is located in the cell wall of the plant, releases certain mucus, and he keeps this plant from drying out when the wave is gone, when the algae has touched the sand. If, for example, an algae is injured, for example, by sand, a wave, then the fucoidam immediately begins to stick it up like glue. In addition, fucoidam gives the plant energy because energy is needed not only by us but by every living creature. What's so special about it? It turns out that the polysaccharides in fucoidania play a very important role, and we will meet them today. For example, such a polysaccharide as mannose. It is very important, and you need to know about it for people who have insulin resistance, who has a state of diabetes mellitus, prediabetes, and who has an undue hereditary factor. Mannose solves the issue of reducing blood sugar, works on the Astropaculobergen cell, and gives a result on the digestive system by stabilizing blood sugar levels, giving energy to a person. The next polysaccharide is fucose. It's very important and valuable. It is known that we have such signaling molecules in our body. That is, what are they for? They give an SOS signal to other cells. When a person does not have coffee, when a person is healthy in principle, when a person takes care of himself, drinks water, he has proper nutrition, does gymnastics, that is, he fully deals with himself. He has no toxicity inside, no intoxication in the tissues. His cell signaling molecules are working normally, but over time, among genetic factors, nutritional factors, factors of body slagging, signaling molecules lose their connection with other cells. And fucose has polysaccharides that give these results. Immunity is important to everyone, and the next polysaccharide that works on the immune system is fucose. Fucose gives a result on tissue damage. When there is integrity of damage, for example, of the skin, when there are changes in a person's energy, often colds, decreased immunity, and when a person takes fucoidan, it is fucose that will have an effect on the immune system. It will provide a state of cellular energy boost and will result in an apoptotic effect. So what is apoptosis? We've talked with you about signaling molecules, signaling cells. Imagine a platform, and this platform consists of cells. This is how it works inside us. And each platform has these little cells. Here are many, many, many of them. Each little cell has such hairs, shades, and they constantly oscillate inside us and take the information that our body gives. And these signaling molecules sometimes don't work. And through these hairs, like through neuronal connections, like through electrical wires, information is transmitted into every system, into every organ. And when there is sludge in the body, a person can't cope with their bodies. It's not functioning properly. And then the picture emerges that some cells don't hear the organism. So somewhere the distress signal occurred, but the cells don't hear it. And a situation of mutating cells begins. When a cell mutates, immunity decreases. And when a person goes to a feast, remember this picture, you have this kind of immunity and you don't suffer. If the situation is different, when a person has a weakened immune system and the cell has mutations, then an oncological condition occurs. Why do different malignant formations arise? Because a mutating cell has appeared. Our body is so wise. When we were born, everything was already laid out. And how will it live? And what does he need? And how will the secret system work? And he has a recovery cycle, a cycle of diseases. There's a cycle of pulling oneself out and how to help oneself. But we don't remember that. We don't have instructions when you buy something in a store, an expensive car, a washing machine, or a car with a quote on it as a necessary thing, or bought some expensive TV. You read the instructions, right? How to turn it on, which button to press. When we were born, we were not given this button. We were not given instructions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For mom, what to do with us, how to feed us, how to feed, how to do massage, how to dress, and so on. That's why we received health already when we were born. And what we receive for free sometimes becomes priceless. Sometimes this people don't pay attention to. They think it will always be like this. And speaking of polysaccharides, returning to them, it is worth saying that fucoidan has these two polysaccharides, about which we have already mentioned. Valuable. That is the work of the proper pancreas, endocrine system, neuroendocrine system, endocrine, and the work of our immune system properly. Plus, when a person has dry skin, there is a change in the skin area, which is related to the intestines, to the endocrine system, to genetic factors. This is where fucoidan will also work. The next polysaccharide is galactose. This is the polysaccharide that prevents the formation of tumors, cells, which stands guard against the formation of malignant cells and stops their growth. Xylose is the polysaccharide that removes oncological processes in the gastrointestinal tract, in the small intestine, in the intestines, which is very valuable and important because in our intestines there are 10,000 lymph nodes, and each of these lymph nodes is guarding our immunity. It is known that our immunity is located in the intestine. In fact, it is the duodenum, and as much as there is order there, we have good or bad immunity. Lymph is a sewer, which everyone has. It is called a sewer because, as a rule, people do not clean the water. Improper nutrition, improper level of living leads to the fact that the lymph is squeezed in our small intestine, and it's like liquid, like rolls, which tear all our cells and even get into a roll. Therefore, depending on whether it will be either a sewer or not depends on our energy, the state of the motor system, the state of our morning state, depression, a state of such comfort when there is energy and a person always has a good mood, such a state as the glucocritic system works, hormonal structure, how it works, and all of this affects the body. Also, the polysaccharide fucoidan has other polysaccharides which are called N-acetylneuramic acid, which is responsible for the brain, for brain development, for brain cells. This acid is present in the only natural product. It is female breast milk. There is no more of it anywhere else. And fucoidan contains this polysaccharide, so for brain cell, for brain development, this acid is responsible. N-acetylgeraminic acid, which is called brucosabrinic acid. She works on pimples, ligaments, fascia, on joints, on everything. That is, we are made up in our language for tissues. How strong our tissue is, over time we lack calcium, lack collagen, and a person begins to suffer from this. Thus, after 30 years, it is already considered a lack of collagen inside. When there is not enough collagen, our fabric starts to sag. The fabric inside turns into skin. Speaking of the human body, it should be noted that knee joints should never hurt. But there comes a moment when a lack of collagen makes the ligament weak. Imagine the knee joint and the ligament at the knee joint are cruciate. It is as dense as a flimsy fabric. Over time, with a lack of calcium collagen, it turns out to such a process. This ligament becomes like torn gauze. And when it becomes like this, a person's knee joint condition starts to weaken. There's a feeling as if the disc is moving left and right, pain when walking, when going upstairs, when going down. This is all in action. And it is precisely this glucosamine acid that will work on these things. On the ligamentous tissue, the meniscus, there are usually moments when the head is erased bones. And then over time passes. A person does not notice, does not take care of themselves. Once and joint replacement. But at the same time, if you start it, you can do it. And if you don't start it but take care of yourself, then you cannot reach all of that is not reach this state. You can absolutely calmly help yourself, for example, with ethyl ether. And there is also an amino acid that will produce results in stopping the development of tumor cells, in stopping negative processes inside, in stopping malignant formations, and in the development of long-term memory. We have a memory that we remember today here, but not tomorrow. And there is a memory when it is in such a good state, when a person remembers what happened in childhood, when remembers what happened 20, 30 years ago. And by the way, speaking of fucoidan, it is important to mention this point. Today, diseases have become younger. It's not a secret. Especially when the COVID infection has passed, everything is out of place. Every day flew by and other times were received. Sometimes they say that I didn't have it. Let's say there was no fever, no runny nose, and in general, everything was fine. And it was in a state where a person felt no strength. Someone has experienced this, no strength, and even the head falling heavily on the pillow or just walking and feeling tired. And this condition has affected everyone. That's why the COVID infection has affected not only adults, but also children. The most unpleasant thing about it is when it affects the vascular and neuroendocrine systems. And here you can see our brain, the neuroendocrine system. Now, the condition of gamers, the condition of the younger generation, has deteriorated. Why? Because we simply consume refined food. We don't care who will clean us inside. We don't even think about it. In fact, the brain and the gut are the same substance, so to speak. It's the same at the body level if you look at it. The brain and the gut work on the same wavelength. If the gut feels bad, the brain will respond with illness. How so? Decreased memory, headaches, forgetfulness, absent-mindedness. Sometimes I notice people crossing the street. The traffic light turned green. What should we do? Take a step. I notice how people stand. You didn't notice? Watch. It's very interesting. So the impulse didn't reach them. What is an impulse? When some information occurred inside, we were given information, someone said something, we saw it. The impulse went to the branch. The person said, oh, that's good, or said, that's bad. This impulse doesn't reach the cell because there's a lot inside of what is slagging. And today, having the function of removing toxins and slag inside, the first one is active in this regard, guarding health, because it alone possesses with strong abilities to solve issues in any system. No matter what I tell you now, I will always say the same thing. That is, you will pay attention to the same phrases, because the product works on any system. There is no disease inside our body that ACTIVIDAN cannot handle. The development is progressing in such a way that only timing and dosing play into this role. Your desire and drinking regime, and here are sensory changes that occur in us in the brain are related to our gut activity. That is the flora in the gut, which is suppressed by pathogenic flora. If pathogenic flora appears in our gut, then good flora cannot exist. If the diet is so refined that it does not allow this flora to recover, and pathogenic flora begins press good flora, and then the process turns out intracallites, enterocallites. By the way, this state-like state led many people to enterocallites. When the mucous membrane of the small large intestine is inflamed and in a person's stomach, grumble in the abdomen, grumble, poor digestion of food, quick urge to the toilet, frequent urge. And it stretches for years. It turns into a frontal form. What will happen? The intestinal mucus is irritated and the pattern is pronounced. Man will not have a good state, soaking up the food he eats. will not be absorbed. Calcium, biotin, vitamins group V, what is produced in our intestines. We have proven that it is possible to produce the body. If the body works well, then imagine calcium for us. No need to drink. We have it. It occurs by itself and is absorbed by itself. Absorbed. And biotin, which is responsible for hair growth, for beauty, hair, for the nail plate, for the state of the nervous system. If it is produced, then everything is fine. B vitamins that we need for the nervous systems, vascular pattern, rhythm, heart rhythm, in order for a person to sleep normally, get up normally, also lacking sometimes. And now it turns out such a vicious circle when a person begins get sick, and does not know how to help yourself. So these sensory connections, I'll call them that, occur between brain and gut. They go away aside if our immunity rises. Our immunity is responsible for everything, for every situation inside. This is our immune system. Those lymphocytes that are in the body and they were already born, they live in the thymus. This is the thymus iron that we have, Here it is. And they say that in her 30s, her involution is happening. Nothing is happening. They say that children were born and after some time she completely lost her ability not to work out. No, that's not true. She can live for 150 years. Our body is designed for this time. But since we set such goals for ourselves, does someone set them for you? Are you placing a bet? Well done. So the body rotates for 150 years. This is the thymus. The body rotates for 150 years until the heart. The body rotates for 150 years until the kidney. Do you understand? But with sick kidneys and a healthy heart, a person does not live long. You also know this. And speaking of the fact that these connections will be lost, what will happen to the person's brain? There will be no memory. There will be scattered thoughts. The impulse won't reach. Today I remember, tomorrow I don't. There will be no long-term memory. There will be a state when one doesn't know what to do. You give them a task, they don't understand where to start. This is called the impulse not reaching. A person gets lost. When this connection exists, a person becomes active. Imagine that you have introduced into your body and bought a robot vacuum cleaner, but only a microscopic one, which you cannot see. You have ingested it, but you don't know what it's doing in there, but it's working in there. It starts to restore your internal connections. It starts working on the structure of signaling molecules, and most importantly, what it does is, when it enters the body, it assesses where there is disorder, and where the cell is empty, where it lacks some micronutrient or vitamin, where it lacks nourishment, where it has a thick membrane, meaning the cell structure, it has a membrane wall, and when it's thick and nourished with toxins, such a cell cannot provide information. She cannot take anything from the diet and cannot remove harmful toxins. It turns out to be a storage cell. And with such a storage cell, what signaling molecules can we talk about? None. Even if a breakdown occurs in the body, no words will be shouted. ACTIVIDAN will shout. It will help give the body this strength. And it's precisely these polysaccharides that we've just talked about. They will produce results right here. They will find the weak cell where there is a breakdown and start working there. And the most interesting thing is that it works at the DNA level. A broken DNA chain and the activity of the ACTIVIDAN produce good results, even if a person has initiated their own process. Urinary system. Let's talk about it. It is connected to the intestines and linked to our brain. It turns out that when we go to the toilet at night, all the information leaves us. This is when a person urinates at night. And if we talk about how it should be done correctly, then all the fluids should be consumed by 5 in the evening, especially water. How much water should a person drink? What do you think? 1.5 to 2. Anyone else? In fact, if you calculate, as scientists say, 30 grams per kilogram of body weight, this is the norm of fluid. This is not the fluid that you, for example, like sweat, juice, something else. This is pure water. Water everywhere. Let's talk about it. If we drink pure water, the body doesn't spend energy to process it. But if we drink impure water, the body will produce extra energy to absorb and assimilate it. Water has its own microelements. It is considered liquid food. And here's the amount of water that needs to be consumed. It allows a person to avoid edema for the proper functioning of the urinary system, to prevent toxins from accumulating in the body, to prevent tissue intoxication for the proper functioning of our large and small intestines. Water is important for the brain. We are made of water. A newborn is 90% water. By old age, 60 to 70% remains. If we do not replenish water, from this, fibrous rings between the vertebrae begin to materialize. They are practically non-existent. Therefore, a person who was 180 becomes 160 in height. Therefore, the back hurts, therefore the muscle tissue hurts, and so on. And therefore, our urogenital system also needs energy. She too needs to keep her and work with her. We have two kidneys that are located one above, the other below. They are very small in volume, have pronomotus tissue, and are suckers. Have a glomerular system, in front tissue. That is, this glomerular system is different from the one that cleanses our blood. How does urine form? It's the blood being cleaned. How does this blood get in? It enters the kidneys through the liver, and there it begins to filter through the glomerular system. And urine is primary, and there is secondary urine. Sometimes our glomerular system begins to suffer. The condition of hallucinators in frighters. And the next process, when a person did not deal with himself, is already an aggravated process. So the covoid infection today and the infection that is walking around the world today, she gives her echoes to every system. And if there was once a COVID, then not only the vessels of the brain will suffer and the entire vascular system. How many of these vessels do we have? Imagine small capillaries, arterioles, veins, venules. This will all connect the arteries. It will be a whole huge network that needs to be wrapped around our globe. Imagine how much. If we talk about the intestines, we will decompose it. This is how we will spread the canvas. It will be 300 square meters. Just think, 300 square meters. This is a whole port, a whole football field. Try to clean there in your whole life. And sometimes people say, I made some kind of program, cleaned my intestines, and how many days have passed? 42. Do you think something can be done during this time? This is the beginning of the beginning. This is very little time. If you constantly take ACTIVIDAN, working for all systems, he, like a robot vacuum cleaner inside, will give a result for each system. Speaking of the glomerular system, what do I want to say? That the glomerular system suffers from an infection that enters the body. It often happens. The child is being treated, not treated. We treated like the runny nose has passed, my throat does not hurt, there is no temperature, go to school, but they're not. And this infection, which remains inside, which does not seem to interfere already, but she sits there, she stays in the kidneys. She never leaves from there. She stays in the prostate. She never leaves from there. Touching the kidneys, it is important to say that all pathogenic bacteria, all pathogenic microflora inside died, and she is there like, remained in the cemetery, like a flea in the kidneys, and she will remain there. Kidneys maybe cannot be removed. So the bionephrites are flowing weakly, that's the reason. What to do in this case? ACTIVIDAN. It gently and carefully removes these toxins and waste, what is unnecessary for the kidneys. It works on the restoration of the glomerular system. That is, it strengthens the substantial wall, strengthens the capillary wall, strengthens the meningeal wall due to the polysaccharides present in it. There are 8 of these polysaccharides, and therefore our ocular system will also be grateful to ACTIVIDAN if a person will engage in self-care. As for the urinary bladder, it is a dense tissue which can never burst. It can hold a small volume of urine, but has an inflammatory process. And since we are talking with you about the connective tissue that we are made of, and this tissue sometimes starts to sag, it ages if we do not take care of ourselves, then our urinary bladder also has a flabby, lax wall, so sometimes holding urine and other parameters are added to this. This is weakness of connective tissue, weak pelvic floor, inflammatory processes, formation of bladder polyps, formation of concrements, sand, slags, toxins. So, the body is like a warehouse. If the warehouse is clean, we clean it. For example, we clean the refrigerator. It's clean and doesn't smell. But if we don't clean it, it's a completely different condition. And our body, like a warehouse, we do not clean. We do not wash. We receive one moment of life. We clean, wash, take care. We receive another moment of life. So when joints hurt, the first thing to pay attention to is our kidneys. The urinary system and disturbance of the acid-base balance. This is a disturbance of the integrated system plus the digestive system together. And these disturbances in the work of the digestive integrated urinary system will lead to disruption of mineral metabolism. What will this give? A person will form salts, rats will form phosphates, oxalates. The disruption will cause concern later about the joints, that you should take care of your joints, because it will be bad here. A person feels. He will be diagnosed by Andrei Kartonsky. Where do you think this is from? Well, where do you think this came from? Salt deposits. There was once a moment of stress. And this person didn't notice it. The stomach malfunctioned. The conspiratorial gut malfunctioned. The process of food absorption continued. The small intestine started to poorly absorb. Excess mucus in the body clogged the lacteal part of the small intestine. Food is not being absorbed and the body stops producing. That is, it stops providing B vitamins and calcium. The undernourished system has failed. Hormonal balance is incorrect. Here is the process. Disturbance in salt metabolism. Bones start to ache. Joints start to ache. What conclusion can we draw? Everything can be solved. The most important thing is that everything can be solved. Any situation, any diagnosis. A diagnosis is just a diagnosis, but not the cause of how it happened. That's why we take the ACTIVIDAN orally, 1 per neck, 2 to 3 times a day. We solve the issue in such a way that we don't have a violation of the urogenital system. In the end, we have a condition where when a woman and a man feel that the bladder is completely different, that urine is excreted as much as needed. No delay, not wanting to go to the toilet one more time. There is a state of proper functioning of the urinary system. There is a state of proper functioning of the musculoskeletal system support. This is our air on which we are located. Our spine, which keeps us in an upright position. If the bones and joints are in pain, no one is happy about it if a person has it. And all the treatment that is happening with pharmaceutical drugs, it's good, but it's just maintaining oneself. It's not what you've fully cured. It's not 30 questions. And until next time, when might the next time be? When catching a cold, especially rheumatoid arthritis, the condition is exhausting. Then rheumatoid matters, will act very negatively on all joints, moreover on the heart activity as well. And what does this mean? They need to be included. Metabolic processes need to be put in order. Again, where to turn? ACTIVIDAN is here to help again, so it provides results in reducing inflammatory processes, balancing the microbial balance inside strongly, that is when pathogens, flora live inside. Relieves pain syndrome, removes viruses, toxins, so its task is to cleanse the body. We also have such macrophages inside. These are cells that engulf decay. Decay, what is it? When bacteria have died out. So they died, the pathogenic flora died, and macrophages rush there to remove it. So we already have those who take care of the inside. But in the process of our life, this whole system, it starts to lose its function. It forgets about this organism, and it turns into such an incident. And look here, let's go back to apoptosis so you remember it. There's a healthy cell. There are some moments when this cell undergoes changes. It starts to mutate. Either it lacked nutrition or it lacked oxygen at some point. Or there were some moments in the intestine, there was a malfunction, or it lacked these functions. She starts to mutate. Imagine that the cell has turned half black, and then necrosis occurred. This is how I explain it to children, more or less. Necrosis occurred. Half of the cell is nourished, and the other half is not. And the part that is not nourished, it overpowers the cell that is the bright half. Because this dark half needs to create cells like itself. It starts to mutate and attract healthy cells to itself, makes them dark. And here the process begins. What does ACTIVIDAN do? It doesn't allow the cell to receive oxygen. It fights against active oxygen. It stops feeding it with blood. In other words, it doesn't provide nourishment through vessels. The cell stops being nourished. When the mutating cell stops being nourished, she begins to perish. In the process, it is shown that the activation of the cell, which already removes the effect of apoptosis that we have inside, but we forgot it in the process of life. The organism forgot it, that is, activation restores the work of stem cells. Remember? It was excellent learning when they created stem cells, when they tried to introduce them into the human body. What happened? Sometimes it led to not very good condition. The person ended up with oncology. Because in the place where there is dirt, a stem cell that is not yours, she will not produce the reaction that is needed. And then we continue to observe. These connections are precisely established by the ACTIVIDAN, that is, the state of mutated cells, when scientists conducted the research, indicate that if cells are not given active oxygen, stop feeding it, surround it with healthy tissue, as if to suffocate it. During this work negative, it stops working, stops reproducing, and stops emitting toxic loads for the body. It allows restoring signaling molecules inside, and this signaling molecule, signaling syndrome, cells hear and begin to rush into the macrophage and starts working our thymus, actively boosting immunity, and the work inside has begun. The person stops entering into a negative process, for example, into the oncology process. And just by connecting cell to cell, that is just the connection which it has inside the body, and when the connection occurs, each cell starts to hear the other. When the field is clear, all cells clean each other. These little hairs that sway, they clearly transmit information from cell to cell. If some cells lack something, then you need to know this fact. All information about cells, about every cell of the organism, imagine a joint in the brain, vascular system, urinary system, and intestines. Like everyone else, it is stored right here in the bladder, in the wall of the bladder. If we went to the toilet at night, urinated, the information got erased. You wake up in the morning and don't know what to eat because you don't remember. This information is provided by the hypothalamus, hence the direct connection. In the hypothalamus, there are two integrated systems that control the body's functions and give commands. And when the command came from each cell of the body, what I lack, what the vascular system lacks, the heart, the liver, its tissue, let's say the intestines, the joints, and this information went from here to the urinary bladder, where it is stored until morning. And when we wake up in the morning, we say, I want scrambled eggs, I want an orange, I want to drink some juice. But when we went to the bathroom at night, this information is not there. We woke up in the morning, the body is out of balance. He doesn't know what he wanted. This is definitely something to remember and not forget about it. Therefore, every system needs help and every system needs to be helped. And what I also want to say is important, that working on the body of a person, activity gives results on the nervous system. It gives results in calming the nervous system. When a person nourishes themselves correctly, when there are no toxins and toxins, we have no opportunity or desire to be nervous. That is, there is such a balance in the body when everything is good, when equilibrium, when good homeostasis is called, when nothing bothers. And such a state will be when a person has stress resistance. So that no matter what information comes to you, you are stress resistant. You understand how to relate to this situation. And when you understand that this is normal, your system works correctly. No stress, but the system is also working correctly. No stress, but the brain doesn't let into battle. The endocrine system doesn't let into battle. Activity is an interesting function. It nourishes and feeds our thyroid gland. Since the thyroid gland is a very compact organ, it always wants to have vitamins, trace elements, so that it always has everything it needs. But we often don't know about this, and we don't give it something. And that's why the activity is also here on guard, so there are no knots in the thyroid gland, so that oxygen is well received. There were exchange processes. Each organ has an exchange process. It has its own immune system. And when we understand this and take care of ourselves, then the thyroid gland does not go into battle. The parathyroid gland works with it. When there is not enough calcium, the parathyroid gland is to blame, and the small intestine where absorption takes place. And it is precisely these polysaccharides that allow the body to produce calcium, magnesium, selenium, zinc, vitamin B group, and so on. So you see that little tiny robot, which works as an activator, will bring order inside and provide the result that everything is in order in a clean body. How much each person needs to drink, every organism knows this. That is, how fast the response will depend on how much water you drink, how well you follow the drinking regimen, how well your immune system works, and how little or much has entered the body. This is a very important topic. Another important point is when there are changes in the human body, when a person suffers from high blood pressure. Who is familiar with this? Are there such people in the audience? Yes, I think this is a very comfortable situation. After all, you were born with normal blood pressure, and normal blood pressure should be throughout life. Why does this happen? And systolic, diastolic pressure. What is systolic pressure? It's when the blood presses on the vessel. Systolic pressure shows ventricle contracted, discarded blood into the vessel. That blood, with a large vary current, moves through the vessels, and its pressure on the vessel wall shows systolic pressure. Diastolic is the relaxation of the heart. Systolo-diastolo, abbreviation relaxation. Diastolic pressure shows how at rest the blood presses on the wall of the vessel, and often there is both top high and bottom high. Lower pressure is still responsible for it, and the work of the soil system of our kidneys, and that's when the condition suffers. Right here. There are cholesterol dancing. What is it? What do they come from? Our liver has a very high capacity clean the blood and give this blood then into the kidneys on the further skull. When the liver is not doing its job, it releases such cholesterol, bad cholesterol, either low-density proteids, and we need either high-density proteins, and ever high-density proteins man has. In humans, the vessels are clean. What is an atheroscleric dance? This is when this vessel is covered, such as a tubercles of snow, only it does not melt. And here's this cumin of snow, like water. It gets bigger, and the lumen at the vessel becomes very thin. It is not enough to enlighten him. Coffee with great pressure runs through the vessels. She presses on this wall. A person develops pressure. We can have dances anywhere. Apport atheroscleric changes. They can be anywhere. And when this condition is already present, how should one work with it? Work through the condition of the liver. How does the activated liver work? It restores liver cell hyperdontsitis at work. It has a very good choleretic action. That is, often, people are born with gallbladder dyskinesia. We are all born with it. This is not a diagnosis. It is a condition of the gallbladder. When it is lazy, it contracts poorly. It also depends, of course, on diet and eating habits. When the gallbladder contracts poorly, the person's intestines do not work. There are constipations, there is slagging, and so on. The activator has the ability to work on the wall of the gallbladder. It allows it to contract properly. And when the gallbladder contracts properly, it means that in our small intestine, food is being digested properly. Then there is no stagnation. Proper absorption of food takes place. Another unique opportunity of ACTIVIDAN is that it makes the vessel elastic. The vessel becomes more elastic, and a person lives as long as he has elastic vessels. At any age, these vessels can be tied like a knot. It does not tear, it does not break. It's like a flexible twig, and it has good connection with other vessels when people have cold hands and feet. Are there any in the room, or have you heard from someone that there are? Imagine, it's important to know. When hands and feet are cold, such people cannot live long. This is a violation of peripheral circulation. What does the ACTIVIDAN do? He works with every capillary, with every vessel, with the arterial wall. These are the smallest capillaries, which are located in the fingers of the feet and hands. When blood does not reach there, that's when our hands and feet get cold. And the ACTIVIDAN, improving peripheral circulation, allows a person to align this condition. Blood pressure stabilizes because the work of the vessels is aligned. Blood circulation improves. The work of the head support system improves. The work of the renal glomerular system improves and results in stabilizing blood circulation. And the condition of the blood when anticoagulants are needed. There are appetites, aspirates, something else. ACTIVIDAN is an anticoagulant. Taking ACTIVIDAN, you don't need any medications that will thin the blood, because it is a medication that controls the blood. It thins it. It has no condition that needs to be controlled. What if it gets worse? It never will. It has selective potential. He will not thin the blood worse than necessary, individually for each person. Therefore, all people who have had COVID infections definitely need anticoagulants, and every person needs them. When we don't have thick blood, it has its own condition. It's hemorrheological functions. Then our heart function does not suffer, and then the pressure will be normal. When taking ACTIVIDAN on which day, approximately, can we say that the pressure stabilizes? It's different for everyone. Someone needs to take it for a month. For those with serious hypertensive disease, some can quickly resolve the issue. But it should be said that the body's response comes after 90 days to any system. When you start feeling stable and good, 90 days is the minimum amount of time, how long it takes to take ACTIVIDAN to help your body. Even if you have a break somewhere in one system, The body cannot quickly resolve the issue. There is no such magic pentalective, when today you missed and tomorrow you're healthy. Have a problem. Have patience. This question solves. ACTIVIDAN has a high ability to work on the state of the immune system and provide the body with energy. There are people who lack energy. Decline in strength is constant. ACTIVIDAN solves this issue. Hair growth improves, the dead plate is being aligned, onto the protocological system excess mucus is released, it operates on aerological properties of blood, parasympathetic system, this is a result on the pancreas. With enzymopathy, very high result. Children are sometimes born. When a child cannot digest all the food, he needs specific nutrition. When taking ACTIVIDAN, the issue is gradually resolved. People who eat completely differently improve hair growth. This is a very expensive diet. ACTIVIDAN also solves the issue, working on provoking androgens on the metabolic organ, which is called the pancreas. It helps the body produce enzymes that will break down one or another food. The issue of enzymopathy is being addressed. In addition, ACTIVIDAN has high ability to help the body so that microbes, bacteria, and parasites did not stick to the walls of the mucous membrane of the nose and intestines. It has an anti-Aristar action. Has anyone ever been to a clinic taking a test and found parasitosis for sure? There are such answers. There are many diseases associated with parasitosis. This is a whole topic for discussion. To find them, you have to take the test 30 times. But they live everywhere. Everywhere. There is a parasitic cellular infection in our cells, trichomonadrioplasm, mycoplasma, Gardnerella, which sometimes lead people to adenomyoprostatitis, to myomatous formations in the area of the uterus, to cysts in women ancestors, to intestinal processes, to thrombophlebitis, to varicose veins, to thrombosis. Trichomonad plays a very important role, and a lot of people live with it, but no one knows about it. It hides in a leukocyte, and the leukocyte is a little house for it. It travels in it. It doesn't see the laboratory because it wants to live. To find it, you need to give an analysis about 30 times, but many people have it chronically. When using ACTIVIDAN, this issue gradually indeed gets resolved, because when I track it in diagnostics, it is absolutely visible. Next, parasitism. There are big ones, there are small ones, very tiny ones. For example, toxoplasma lives in the brain cells. Sometimes you ask people, do you have a condition of intrusive people? The person says, yes, I do. And why does this happen? Toxoplasma is a very tiny parasite, which is not visible and only visible under a microscope. Living in the brain's cage, what is its task to do? To leave the human, find another host. And when people have intrusive thoughts, especially in this condition, people have thoughts of murder, suicide. Therefore, of course, much is not confirmed. People do not check, but such a fact exists, and therefore, when toxoplasma comes out, finds another host, it lives. And here the ACTIVIDANs work. People who are very nervously tense. When the nervous system is constantly under tension, when a person is constantly stressed and he is such a bundle of nerves, yes, and he can no longer live differently because he is used to the body. ACTIVIDAN provides relaxation to the body. A person starting to think differently, he sleeps normally. He wakes up in the morning full of energy, easily falls asleep, skin color changes, blood circulation improves. Very important for people suffering from heart attacks, strokes, pre-stroke, pre-heart attack condition, for those with a genetic predisposition to this. Predisposition when stroke prevention is needed. Predisposition when heart attack prevention is needed. Here, ACTIVIDAN is also a good helper. It nourishes the myocardium. We have muscles between the shoulder blades which are always compressed. People often complain. It hurts uncomfortably here, yes. Someone walks if constantly going for a massage and works with their body, they understand that it needs to be done. But when there is a block of muscle tissue, then the heart's nourishment stops. Joke, that is in this constant state, if this happens, the onset of infarction. It's not just myocardial. ACTIVIDAN helps in this way. It improves the circulation of muscle tissue so that there is no blood stasis, so that there is no improvement of blood stasis, so that there is no thrombosis in the end. It works on the veins of the legs. The veins of the legs and the veins of the calves which would throw out the blood, there would be no stagnation there. For sucking blood from the legs, the liver is responsible. That's why the liver is sometimes sludged. It cannot constantly fulfill its function. And the ACTIVIDAN is also a helper here. Because it is an anticoagulant, the blood strengthens in the venous wall. It becomes dense. Blood does not prefer, so there won't be such changes which occur in the interstitial space when a person has swelling. Here the activitant also plays a role. So the venous wall forms, it strengthens and becomes denser. The blood circulates well in a person. There is no stagnation. This is important, especially important for people who work constantly standing on their feet. Teachers, doctors, surgeons performing operations, many people. Only I am at the machines all day at work. So today I tried to show you where and how the activitant works. When there is mucus in the body, there is a lot of it. That is, because it is present inside, there are 100 diseases. But no one is looking for the cause. Keep in mind that only the diagnosis is treated. Therefore, consuming this little product in packets of 0.6 degrees Celsius several times a day, each individual dosage, you will get a great result, working on the entire body system. From a cell, for example, the intestine, to the upper system, to the endocrine system. It's visible from the top. That is, when people look at you, they may start giving compliments. Something will change about you. And maybe these people, someone active, perhaps someone you know. You probably notice that the person has changed. He became different. The state of the armor plays a special role, which I think worries everyone about teeth. This is such a topic for conversation, where a person is always at the dentist, or once a year probably. So what causes bad breath? Lack of vitamin C? Yes. Digestive system disorder? Yes. Parasitosis plays a big role. Activitant helps here. You just need to take activitant in your mouth, dissolve it in your mouth, running the tip of it all over the cheeks and inside the oral cavity, and you will get a good result. That is, in general, you need to work with the whole organism, and where there is a bad condition, the activator will work there. Today I showed the activators, but I want to focus on the vascular system and say that when there is poor blood circulation, the person suffers from heart problems. Arrhythmia sets in. Arrhythmia may occur due to disruptions in the autonomic nervous system, and when a person takes activitant, this condition begins to be resolved. In other words, the heart starts working differently. There are no stagnant phenomena. If there were any pathological processes related to arrhythmia, gradually they will pass. Arrhythmia is not resolved immediately. To solve it, it is necessary to restructure the body's state. For this, there is also breathing gymnastics, which needs to be added. Today, I also want to show you one exercise that will be useful because New Year is coming soon. In order to avoid negativity in life, everyone needs to have joy from the very morning. If we don't rejoice, then each of our cells also feels sad. Temis is right here. Today, I will show you. You can also do this with me. Every morning, you take your palm and start tapping right here. This spot, you tap Temis, and you feel the state of joy arising. You start feeling it completely differently. You boost your immunity. Please remember this, don't forget. Another point for you. We have a point of debt, a point that solves many problems in the body. Do you know about it? This point is located below the knee. Who knows? Great. Now show each other. Don't forget about this. Every morning, the point needs to be massaged, and it produces results. It will all go into your system. For blood circulation, for veins of the legs, for the immune system. Work with it. Have a good condition. Take 4 fingers from the knee cup downwards and 2 fingers from the ankle bone sideways. There it is. It's very painful. If you constantly massage it, you will have lightness in your legs. Your legs will not get tired. There will be good blood circulation, and your legs will never swell. Well, that's the information about activity. What questions do you have? Tell me. There is so much information that